guys, it's Darcy. So today I actually didn't put a vote on Twitter like I normally do to see what you guys want me to talk about because I have something that I want to talk about. But first, I do want to mention there will be no video next week because it's fall break at school, so my kids will be home, and that means that I don't get any quiet time. So just don't expect a video next week, but this week I want to talk about writing and grapes. And I'm actually really excited to talk about this because I don't know that I've ever heard this explained in this way before, and that really excited me because it's not often that I have an original idea, you guys. And I mean particularly when it comes to teaching writing, you know. So last week when I was talking about plotting versus pantsing, I kind of had this realization that I am both, right? That I plot a little bit, but I mostly pants my first draft, and that was such like, and for some reason, I don't even remember what made me think of it. But I had this image kind of come into my head of a person, like, you know how vines grow like up the sides of walls, and sometimes the vine will just like kind of grab itself. Like, it depends on the kind of vine, right? But I had this image of like a gardener, like placing the vines in the safest place, like where it needed to go. So from there, I kind of got curious, and I looked up some videos on grapevine, like growing grapevines, a vineyard, right? And I found some really cool videos about this guy in the South who has a huge, it's not like a huge like vineyard like you'd see in California where they make wine and all that kind of stuff, but he has like 150 grapevines, and he was kind of walking his son-in-law around his vines and showing him, well, this is what I did and this is what I did wrong. And the more I watched him talk about guiding the vine, you know, like, because when you plant the vine, you have to have like a stick for it to kind of climb up, and you don't do it for the vine, right? The vine knows to climb up the stick. If you give it a guide, then it goes. And then when it gets to a certain point, you give it a wire to grow out on so that the grapes can hang down. And at one point, the son-in-law said, I noticed that when the vine gets to this height, you kind of encourage it to wrap around the wire. And the guy said, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Because he said, if you do that, then over time, the grapes will start to grow with the wire inside of them. And that's not good. And then he pointed out a part of the vine that had wrapped around the wire by itself, right? So he's telling his son-in-law, you don't have to encourage the vine to grow around the wire. It knows to hang on. So I was thinking about this in terms of storytelling and plotting versus pantsing and even creativity in general, and it just applies in so many ways. Because here's the thing. We need structure and freedom in order for stories to work. We need structure and freedom in order for creativity to work. A good story will have structure, but not too much. If you give a story too much structure, it starts to feel stiff, it starts to feel bogged down, it starts to feel forced. But if you give a story too much freedom, I feel like it starts to feel not grounded. I don't know, I'm still working out how to explain this. But there are obviously different versions of this, right? There are stories with more structure, there are stories with less structure, and there are all kinds of stories and all kinds of people like them. But I feel like the kind of stories that really hit people, that resonate with humanity in general, are right in the middle. They have the right amount of structure that we can follow the path of the story, but they also have the freedom that allows us to really connect to the story and to the characters. And when you think about it with creativity, like, we writers need structure, right? Artists need structure. Like, we need to be able to have like a place to do our work, and we need to be able to like make ourselves sit down and do the work, but also we need the freedom to feel creative and to you know, take the muse when it comes, kind of thing. And then for me, being a religious person, I also see a religious spiritual aspect to this, being that, you know, the more I picture myself as the person, you know, placing the vine and directing it where it needs to go, I see God helping me go where I need to go. grow where I need to grow, right? I feel like this concept of viticulture, which is the practice of growing grapes, is a little bit cooler to think about in terms of plotting versus pantsing and creativity than just gardener or architect, because it is a gardening thing, but at the same time, it's much more involved. You know, it's not just planting a seed and watering it and watching it grow. It's, you know, you have to do a little bit more and you have to guide it a little bit more in order to get the result that you want. So I'm still kind of thinking this over and mulling it over in my mind, that kind of thing. But I wanted to share that with you guys because it felt like a cool way of thinking about it. So let me know what you think, comment or at me on Twitter, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thanks for watching.